Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Genesis has to be my favorite game of all time. My earliest memories of playing video games was either Great Basketball on the Sega Master System, Chuck Rock 2 on Sega Genesis, or the most important one, and the one that got me into video games, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I absolutely love this game. Speeding through, exploring the levels, you can play it however you want. It's a fun game. However, the Sonic series has taken a dive as of lately, and it's fun to talk about how terrible it has gotten. It's almost become a meme at this point, and you can't find a Sonic video without someone talking about how bad the series has gotten thus far. Well, this ain't a video about how bad the series is now, but rather how the series affected my life then, and still sort of affects it. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the spooky, the horrific things inside the Sonic series. Keep in mind, this is for entertainment purposes. I know all this stuff isn't necessarily that spooky, which is why I'm not going to be super overdramatic with this. Just sit back, eat your Halloween candy you just got from trick-or-treating, and enjoy a little bit of spooky stuff in Sonic games. This is the Halloween special for this year, and yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, because we don't really do that much horror stuff. One thing you'll notice when playing classic Sonic games is anytime you kill an enemy, an animal pops out. As a kid, this didn't really strike anything with me. I mean, I was too young to really read manuals or even care about reading manuals, so I didn't really know the lore behind Sonic. But after a while, after playing it a couple times, I noticed that every time you beat a boss, you would open up a capsule of animals. The long story short, Robotnik, Eggman, whatever, was capturing animals and putting them in machines. So every time you kill a robot or a machine, the animal, the innocent animal, pops out. Now, really, this is just a classic tale of, environment versus the capitalistic machine. I mean, you could say I'm reading too deep into it, but that's exactly what it is. But, it's still creepy to think that someone's stuffing little innocent bunnies into machines to become killers. That's some, Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. And yes, I did just make a Five Nights at Freddy's reference. That in itself could be a whole video about how crazy the lore is of Sonic. I mean, they've even made some creepypastas about it, like Sonic.exe, which is a little horror game based off some guy's real experience with the game. But I'm going to move on to stuff that really bothered me when I was a kid. I guess before I leave the classic console era, I should talk about the drowning noise. Everyone likes to talk about how, terrifying the sound is. But for me, it just means frustration, especially on the chemical plant level where you're dealing with water. And as a kid, I couldn't deal with the floating mechanics of Sonic's feet, so I'd always fall off the platforms. Hearing that noise just makes me angry. It gives me PTSD. It's like, I've worked this hard, and now I'm just going to drown. I hate this. This noise does not mean fear for me. It means I'm going to get mad and throw my controller. Alright, so we're going to move on to two more games, and we're only going to talk about these two games. Because I'm only sticking to PC ported stuff, and even if I did want to play everything that I could on a PC, we'd be talking about Sonic forever, because there is some Sonic games that did come to PC, even some newer ones. But we're just going to stick to two memorable games for me, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. Now, I'm playing the PC versions, the DX and Battle version of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Now, these are just ports, they're not made for PC, they're ports of a port, because these were originally on Dreamcast, then put on GameCube, and now they're on PC. Sonic Adventure's an innocent game. It was Sega's humble beginnings into the 3D era as they tried to compete with the likes of Mario. Sonic Adventure's a very broken game, and it's not very good, but it's dear and close to the hearts of Sonic fans. If you can look past its faults, it's a pretty decent game. It's the first time, too, that humans interacted with Sonic, which is kind of weird. But there is some creepy things about Sonic Adventure. One is the dialogue. There's a ton of people to talk to in the cities, but if you walk around and talk to some people, you get a little side stories that apply to the main story, yes, but are also kind of creepy in themselves. There's a guy right here, a little safari-looking dude, who tells you that the trolley's meant to go in the jungle because they found an ancient civilization and they want to go explore it. And then later when you go talk to him, he talks about how a group went into the forest, and he hasn't heard from them. He doesn't know if they're okay. What went on in that forest? At this point in the game, I wasn't allowed to go there yet. So I was terrified to think what was in that forest. As a kid, I was like, what got them in there? That always freaked me out. And I'm going to leave that little story there, because the real ending isn't as spooky. It's just wondering what could happen. So let's speculate wildly to what happened to the group in the forest. Did they get lost and die? Did an unknown being snatch them up? Or does Dr. Robotnik, Eggman, whatever, now have the ability to stuff humans in suits to make them killer machines? Spooky. Now, there is some dialogue that is legit terrifying and even unsettles me for a little bit. If you go talk to the guy in the burger shop, he talks about how he's felt someone staring at him all day. Well, you can go back and forth about 1,000,000 times and find out that there's this lady who stands outside and stares at him because she's so in love with him. And the guy inside's getting really freaked out because she's been staring at him for like days. Literally, he talks about being stared at since yesterday. And this goes on for days and days, and eventually she does go inside, but you never really see a conclusion to this story. At least I've never seen it. But it's kind of freaky. It's some real swim fan stuff right there. Stalking's always kind of creeped me out, and so if I knew I was working at a job and there was just some chick standing out the window staring at me nonstop, I'd get kind of freaked out. I mean, who knows? Maybe they got together and lived happily ever after, or maybe she cut his face off and wore it as a party ad. But you want to know what really is the most terrifying dialogue? Here's a dark alleyway, little kid's by himself. You walk up to him to talk to him, and he says, "Wah, my mom went to the casino and never came out." You mean to tell me that his mom went into the casino to gamble and left him in a dark, creepy alleyway? Put yourself in this kid's shoes! Could you imagine being left in a dark, creepy alleyway where your mom went inside and gambled? But the icing on top of the creepy sundae is Amy's little story, and it's because she's constantly chased by a robot named Zero. Now, chasing sequences in itself can be intense and frightening, and for me as a kid, this always made it seem like I was in constant danger. Today, if you were to play it, you can find out that you can kind of take your time, and he doesn't really do anything to you. But put yourself in the shoes of like an 8-year-old, and this robot pops out of the swimming pool and's coming after you, busts through some windows, busts through a computer monitor. It was freaky. Freaked me out. Everywhere I went, he was. And it seems like I could never get away from him. It absolutely terrified me. But perhaps the most odd thing about Sonic Adventure is that for Patreon, I had this idea that I was going to do long plays and only release it to patrons, and then I was going to release like chopped up bits for YouTube, and then I scrapped that idea because I didn't like that idea. But it was just for a brief moment. It was an idea I had because we had multiple patrons at the time. Right now we just got 2, but at the time we had a couple more people, subscribing, and people gave us dough, and I wanted to pay them back, even though they said they didn't want any payback, by doing some long plays. So I filmed myself play the entirety of Sonic Adventure 1 and uploaded it to Patreon. Well, the weird thing about this was that, as you can see on the channel, I have plenty of long plays. I got Killing Time, a little bit of Jericho, I never want to play it again, got Hitman Contracts, and I filmed a bunch of other games. There hasn't really been any video errors in any of those, except for the fact that my PC's sort of old and dying, so sometimes you might get a little bit of artifacting or some graphics that don't look perfect, but you know what? It looks great. Sonic Adventure, however, decided not to work, but in a very strange way. In post while editing, there was nothing wrong with my footage. It looked perfectly fine. I never saw any hiccups or anything. And then when I went to go render it and upload it and watch it later, some really weird stuff happened. Right here, I mentioned Satan, and I started making jokes about creepypasta and how this video's in the making of a creepypasta, and then a crazy glitch happens. Just watch. Just watch. Yeah, that would be something if this doesn't capture audio, and pretty much it's like, what's the point? Then I should have just used the other footage. Oh my god, just don't even. This is such a great first. You know what? This is what I get for messing with Satan. This is. This spooky stuff in games is the devil, and messing with it's causing problems in real life. Like it's messing with my mental. I'm creating some creepypasta stuff right now, and I oh, Jesus. Oh my god, this is some creepypasta in the making. I should totally make a footage of me talking to the camera with
images drawn behind me. I have like my parents or my friends like wear some creepy stuff.
Even if you're frozen, jump a couple of times and you should be able to crack through.
You know, I have my parents like stand behind me wearing like creepy outfits, or like my friends or something, and be like, OBS didn't record it again, so I decided to kill a small child. You know, I don't know. Oh, Jesus. Oh my god, I hate this. I gotta take my time with this or else I'll commit seppuku. Oh, for the love of God. It's because I'm just going so fast with it.
Like, what's happening? But yeah, I think that's everything with Sonic Adventure. Wait a minute, what's with this mannequin? Why is it a carbon clone of this shopkeeper dude? And why is he so nonchalant about it being right beside him? You ever played Condemned 2? Oh, never mind. On to Sonic Adventure 2 battle. Sonic Adventure 2 is a okay game. I've played it a lot as a child, but I don't play it as much as I played the first game, just because it's got some jank. And unlike Sonic Adventure DX, the jankiness is infuriating. But at the same time, though, Sonic Adventure 2 has some aesthetics that just beats every other game. Like Knuckles' soundtrack for his levels. Come on! How many video game related rap songs actually sound good? And yes, I'm bashing all nerdcore. Nothing sounds as good as this. This is nice. It doesn't sound like a parody or a joke or anything. It just sounds really good. I mean, yeah, there's some corny lines in it, but it just sounds perfect. But speaking of Knuckles' levels, what? These levels scared me so much as a kid. Now, keep in mind, I played these games when I was really, really young, and seeing, like, ghosts and cemeteries and skulls shooting fires and, like, pumpkins and all this really spooked me. But what's worse is this boss fight, like, wow! Look at that thing. I mean, it's an obvious ripoff of King Boo, but this thing's creepier than King Boo. Are you serious? Just Knuckles' levels in general just have just a little bit of a spook factor to it. You're getting this nice rap music, got you jamming, but then, ooh, look, skeletons, ghosts. Maybe I'm overthinking it, though. But what I'm not overthinking is the last cutscene of the final story.
It probably will impact Earth.
What's that on the screen?
This is a death sentence for every human being on Earth. If my calculations are correct, the space colony arc will impact the Earth in 27 minutes and 53 seconds. All of you will be destroyed, along with your beloved planet Earth. I plan to give you a taste of my revenge once all the 7 Chaos Emeralds are collected. Once I initiate this program, it cannot be disabled. All of you ungrateful humans who took everything away from me will feel my loss and despair.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
Ready!
What's going on here? Who is that?
I plan to give you a taste of my revenge.
The vibration's getting
once all
worse.
this-
Professor Gerald Robotnik, one of the greatest scientific minds in the world.
Okay, let's analyze that for a second. Robotnik, Eggman, whatever's uncle, is in a straitjacket with strange markings all around him. And after he's done giving a speech, you clearly hear them getting ready for an execution. This is a kid's game, and there's a public execution on tape? I heard if you put the Japanese voices on, it's even more scary. I don't feel like doing that. And I'm just giving you a really brief taste of what happens in these Sonic games to make them so creepy. I'm leaving out a lot of stuff. But that's what's the beauty about something like Sonic. With the little bit of fear and horror that it has you digging for more to sort of find out the spookiness. It's kind of why it's one of the best creepypastas out there, because something that no one really saw as a horror game or any spooky or anything related got older and was like, whoa, what the? It adds to the element and it adds to the lore. Sure, anything after like Sonic 06, you can't really do that with it because the route they took. But these classic games just sort of have that hint of what? But no, I'm not leaving you guys yet. There's something every single Sonic fanboy who looks at spooky stuff, they're already on the keyboard typing as I speak because I haven't mentioned the spookiest thing ever found in a Sonic game that isn't creepypasta related. The Sonic CD sound test.